We are opening a box now from the unknown Apprentice called the Chew Fighter. Exquisite wrapping job. If you're available around December 10th of next year, let me know, whoever you are. This is not the front, not top. This is the top. I trust it made the trip in one piece. After all, the box is nearly Tom Lipton approved. What's inside may not be perfect, but it's not for a lack of effort. Thanks, John and team. Use at your own risk, no warranty after takeoff. Check out those weapons. They're not that boring. Caution, beyond this point, there's no turning back. If this is a small lathe, we'll be immediately setting it on fire. The panels are the Force. Well, may the Force be with you, and also with you. The Wookie holds the keys. See other side. TIE Wrap Fighter. Well, that's actually pretty good. If you haven't seen the TIE Fighter meme, we will be inserting it right now. No lowballing me. I know what I've got. Pull to battle evil. Holy. To the many, many people out there in this community, both online and in person, who are extremely giving of their time and knowledge. The journey has been a blessing, for I've reached, failed, overcome, and learned that continued learning is the path and force. Hopefully through my work here, you'll see the influence you've had on me. My hope is it shines through. And of course, without my family, those that have endured so much while I searched, none of this would be possible. Special thanks to John, the NYC team, and YouTube for making this possible, The Unknown Apprentice. Thank you.
Wow.
Thanks for watching. NYC CNC rocks. Support Lancer Aero Sports. They helped with the aerodynamics. Oh, wow. So it looks 3D printed, but we got to dive a little deeper here, because it looks like we've got some turned parts in there, which is just unfortunate. But, you know, compromises. Can't have it all, huh? So take a look. It appears to be kind of a calling card. We've got Keith Fenner, we've got ClickSpring, LanceAerosports.com, Suburban Tool, B&B, Mr. Pete, Cat, PJF, Ace, Dreaming is Free, A-Bomb 79, Lars Live, Randy Richards in the shop, just YouTube in general, Fusion 360, This Old Tony, what am I missing here? Saunders Machine Works, I think that's Stefan, Gottes Winter, Ox Tools, Duresta, us, and again NYC CNC, and that is the creator of this. Thank you. This is really cool. So is it a puzzle? Is that the mystery? I won't break it. Oh, come on! They're boring bars. Oh, that's not very nice. Especially because they look like this brazed carbide kind that every new machinist that buys their first Chinesium just curses at. So this is definitely a puzzle, because these look like panels. Puzzles are not my strong point. Hey, Judd, you got a key on you, bud? How do I open this, bud? How do I open this? You got any ideas? This whole thing comes apart. Got a split line there. Ed, we think this is a puzzle. All I've gotten so far is that the panel, this one in particular, turns. Oh. And there's a split line because I saw the brazed carbide boring bars that are so offensive here. There's this, which to me kind of is a pretty good
It's a zip tie fighter.
Oh, is that a thing?
That's a joke. I mean, I think it's the best.
Is it a known joke?
No.
Okay, I was like, is this something a subclass I'm not aware of? But well done. Okay, well, we'll be back. Well, about 1.2 parsecs after turning the camera off, Ed seems to have discovered the somewhat now obvious feature that could be threaded, which allows that to come off. And then we'll go for it, Ed. You made the discovery.
Interference fit on that.
It's a very impressive 3D print.
Yes.
Okay. No. No. Look at the polish. That must be Australian AVE / Canadian clickspring level of polish there. That is really cool.
Hey, I'm Chase Kurtin. I took on the TIE Fighter Challenge from Saunders Machine Works NYC CNC channel, and it was so fun, but it really kicked my butt. So I'll show you some footage from what we got. So a little bit about myself. I started machining about 3 years ago when I got a job as a robotics and automation engineer. We had to machine a lot of tools and fixtures for our manufacturing line, basically, to keep it up and running. I kind of basically taught myself a lot of watching YouTube videos. It's been a real challenge and a fun process to learn all this stuff. So in making this part, some of the challenges that I faced were these big, wide TIE fighter wings are clamped across two ends with nothing supporting the middle. So at the start, it was not a problem machining out because it was a big 3/4 inch chunk of aluminum and had a lot of rigidity built in. But as I took out material, especially on Op 2, the plate actually began to bow up a little bit. So my first passes, when I was just doing an adaptive pass to clear off a lot of the material, it actually cut deeper than I wanted it to. So when I did the finishing pass, it has some of those scoring lines on the backside from that. One of the major challenges I ran into was at the beginning, I tried to run everything dry with no coolant. Our shop is set up to cut mostly plastic. So basically this aluminum really kicked my butt in the beginning, and I had to eventually add a little oil dripper on that hose you see on the right, and that helped me basically run all my tool paths without changing any of the speeds and feeds once I got it going. But that was a real headache. But after that, it went really smooth. It was a lot of fun to make this TIE Fighter. Some of the problems that I had fixturing were when I was deciding how to fixture the round body and hold it into the jaws to basically do all the tool paths to cut out that main body of the TIE Fighter. I had to basically do the two sides in two different operations, and then those gave me some reference features in order to cut out the body. The problem that I had is that on one side, the center line of that TIE Fighter was offset a little bit on the part, on the stock. So when I cut out the first side, I flipped it over and did the second side without thinking about the center line needing to line up. So I needed to flip it and rotate it. And so you'll see at the end, the part has one side missing when I'm carving out the shape, the main shape of it. But that was a fun learning experience because I got to understand just how much I have to think through stuff in order to get it just right. Some of my plans for this next year, I just left my job where I was before and started a company doing robotics and automation full-time. So my wife and I are working together to make a new company that does robotics and integration and automation, kind of like a turnkey service for companies. So that's kind of one of my future goals, is to make that work and build out a machine shop, mostly for prototyping, to be able to test our ideas and designs and then have them built and fabricated elsewhere. But the plan is to get a full service shop where we can have all the capabilities we might need. But here's how the part turned out, and it looks pretty good. You can see on the backside the little bit of scoring it has. All in all, pretty impressed. Another thing I learned is basically the way I recorded all this footage was with my iPhone. Having a dedicated recording device like a GoPro or something would have been a lot better and more efficient. I ended up losing a lot of footage with anytime anybody would call me or would get some sort of text message. Somehow the footage would get stopped and it would get paused. But so it skipped from the end over to the body of it, and this is actually the second op of the body because I lost all that footage. But you can tell on the right side there's no end of the TIE fighter arm like it is on the left side of this part, and that's because I've already cut it off after I had made that mistake of flipping the part over and not getting the fixturing the same as how it was in Fusion. So I had to end up drilling through that end piece I cut off and re-bolt it on to that surface on the right. But it ended up looking where you can't really tell. And so here's the last little bit of machining footage. And basically I ended up with a surfacing pass that got stopped halfway through. And the other thing is I missed out on the face plates, or the little covers, like the door hatch on the top or the window in the front. I machined those on a separate operation, but we lost that footage. Well, here it is. This is the final product. We've got the front view here where you can see the window. I think it turned out pretty good. All those little pieces, the detail pieces, are glued on. The top and back and front I machined on a separate operation, and it didn't work as well as I hoped, but it turned out okay. And the sides are really I think the tool paths make a really cool effect in the middle of those panels, and really happy with the way it turned out. So thanks for watching.
Hey guys, my name is Colton, and I've been a machinist for about 10 years now. I first got into machining about 10 years ago with my wife's grandfather. He was one of the original founders of Fadal Engineering. So he taught me how to run the Fadal, how to hand program it. From there I learned Fusion 360, and then I started to design my own products for the company I work for. So for the TIE Fighter Challenge, I used a 5-axis from Index Designs. There's their 6-inch rotary, and this is their Quindex air-actuated rotary. So let's take a closer look at my TIE Fighter. In the NYC CNC Challenge, I made Darth Vader's TIE Fighter. Using a Quindex and a 1/2-inch end mill, I was able to machine all 5 sides of the TIE Fighter in just one operation. Then I used a 1/4-inch ball end mill and some surfacing toolpaths to finish Op 1. For Operation 2, I used the same tools and strategies to finish the final side in a vise. To machine the tail, I also used the Quindex to utilize the 5-sided machining. One of the advantages of the Quindex is it can bolt onto any existing 4th-axis rotary and only needs a spare M function to activate an air valve, eliminating the need for expensive 5-axis machines just to work on all 5 sides of your part. So unfortunately I lost all of the footage of machining the wings. I used 1/8-inch aluminum sheet that I had on hand. I used the bandsaw to cut out the rough shape, Then I stacked the wings together and put them in a vise to square up the edges. Then I used a vacuum plate to machine the wings. When it came time to bend the wings, I found that our small press brake could not bend the 1/8 inch aluminum, so I machined my own dies and used a hydraulic press brake to bend the wings. This worked out great because I could machine dies to the exact degree I wanted to bend the wings. I hope that you enjoyed this project as much as I have. If you would like to see more pictures and videos, you can follow me on Instagram at IndexDesignCNC.
My name is Ryan Gebs. I'm from Farmington Hills, Michigan. Thank you NYC CNC for doing this challenge. I've had a blast machining my TIE Fighter. When I signed up for the challenge, I wasn't sure how I was going to make my TIE Fighter. I saw on my desk a model Lego TIE Fighter that I keep and thought I need to make it like that. So that's what I did. I love Lego and thought that this might be something that would help me stand out in a fleet of other TIE Fighters. As I started thinking about it, I decided it wouldn't be practical to machine each part in this 91-piece model, so I needed to simplify it in order to machine all the parts in a month's time. I reduced it to just 13 pieces. I began designing toolpaths and found that several pieces would be significantly more challenging to machine. These small round pieces were particularly hard to hold onto. I machined soft jaws to hold them. Even so, I had to use very conservative feeds and speeds to make the necessary parts. Additionally, the middle frame of the TIE Fighter needed 6 operations to complete. This required a lot of thought and planning to ensure that for each consecutive operation, I would have access to machine surfaces for locating the part accurately. Altogether, it took about 2 hours to make due to various setups. By far the coolest part that I machined was this brass dome piece. It took a long time to develop the toolpath to get a very smooth surfacing operation and to get the engraving just right. I am pleased with the aesthetics of the finished parts, but I would like to have had smaller clearance between the various mating surfaces. I could have spent more time dialing in the tolerances, but I had already committed a large amount of time to this project. They look good, and many of them hold together loosely on their own, but not as good as the original. Thank you again, NYC CNC, and I hope to participate in future challenges.
My name is Matt Quimby, and I work on the hardware development team of a tech company. One facet of my work is using manual and CNC machines to quickly turn out prototypes and also modify existing hardware. But I really had no experience with CNC machining until I started my current job. We had an older Tormach 1100 that had seen some use, and I got the go-ahead to start monkeying with it. Finding out just how easy it was to turn ideas into aluminum and steel, just the possibilities were amazing. The wonder of what I'll make next is one of the most exciting things about machining to me. It really keeps things interesting when every time you touch a machine, it's a brand new part. Honestly, I didn't want to be a machinist. I still don't. I really love making things. I love the precision and the capabilities. My goals as a machinist are more about people. I want to introduce more folks to this awesome trade, but also to the concept that you can make whatever you set your mind to. It seems that almost everyone I meet is genuinely amazed that I make things. It's kind of depressing to think that so many people's imaginations are limited by what products are currently available. Watching a regular human take a chunk of steel and turn it into anything they want can have a real eye-opening effect, and it's incredibly empowering. I expected there to be major work-holding challenges, so I cheated a little and designed the parts around the machining. The first major hurdle was definitely the design phase. This wasn't a TIE variant with a long presence in the Star Wars universe. It's got really just a small amount of screen time, which actually made it kind of tricky to model. Unfortunately, they weren't able to ship my order out until pretty late. I don't think I got the material until January 20th. I didn't have time to remake any parts, and I also didn't have time to slow down and be as meticulous as I normally would have for machining a new part out of a material I had no experience with. It really had to be right the first time, and it had to be full speed or I was going to run out of time. I did run into some difficulties with work holding, but only due to my own short-sightedness. I fixtured a part too deep in the vise at one point. Later on, I machined away my fixturing stock, which led to some really creative use of spare stock and a kind of obscene number of clamps. This is a modified TIE interceptor, which was piloted by Baron Elrik Vonreg of the First Order for several episodes of Star Wars Resistance, before it was destroyed by a traitorous rebel. I designed and machined this TIE in support of Baron Vonreg, his family, and his fellow First Order pilots. But check that out! Is that not the coolest thing? Oh, shoot. We're missing the antenna. You can't have a TIE fighter without an antenna. That's like specifically called out on Wikipedia that this model has an antenna. I'm gonna go figure out an antenna. Hey, Paul.
Yeah.
Do you know the new guy that's been playing around with the CNC machine?
Yeah.
Do you have any of the probe tips that he's been breaking?
Why don't you just use